"You're pregnant." "And it's mine," the single dad whispered. The pregnancy test trembled in Eliza's hands as she stared at the two pink lines that would change everything. How could she tell Marcus, her best friend's brother, a widowed father still healing from his own losses, that one night of comfort had led to this? She never expected him to show up at her apartment tonight, eyes filled with a mixture of fear and something else she couldn't quite name. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that explore the complicated reality of unexpected love and second chances. "You're pregnant, and it's mine," Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible in the quiet hallway of her apartment building. Eliza felt her heart stop. How did he know? She'd only confirmed it herself hours ago. The pregnancy test was still hidden in her bathroom trash, wrapped in toilet paper and buried beneath tissues. She pulled him inside quickly, checking the hallway to make sure none of her neighbors had overheard. Her hands shook as she locked the door behind them. "We need to talk," she said, leaning against the door as if to physically block the outside world from intruding on this moment. Marcus stood in her living room, looking simultaneously lost and determined. At 35, the lines around his eyes had deepened since losing his wife 3 years ago. His daughter Emma was 7 now, the same age Eliza had been when her own father walked out. "Your sister told me," he said, answering her unspoken question. "She found the receipt for the pregnancy test in your purse when she borrowed it at lunch yesterday. She put it together, the timing, how sick you've been in the mornings, why you've been avoiding me for weeks." Eliza closed her eyes. Of course Sarah would figure it out. Her best friend since college had always been too perceptive for her own good. "I wasn't avoiding you," she lied. 6 weeks, Eliza. 6 weeks since that night, and you've cancelled every time Emma asked to see you. She thinks her favorite aunt doesn't love her anymore. The mention of Emma pierced Eliza's heart. She adored that little girl with her gap-toothed smile and endless questions. Before that night with Marcus, she'd been at their house at least twice a week, helping with homework or just being the female presence in Emma's life that Sarah couldn't always be with her demanding surgical residency schedule. "I needed time to think," Eliza said, finally moving away from the door. "I only confirmed it today. I was going to tell you, but I needed to figure out what I wanted first." "And what do you want?" Marcus asked, his voice steady despite the storm she could see brewing behind his eyes. Eliza sank onto her couch, suddenly exhausted. "I don't know." That wasn't entirely true. She knew she wanted this baby, had known it from the moment she suspected she might be pregnant. What she didn't know was what that meant for her and Marcus, for the careful friendship they'd built over years, for Emma, for her career as a children's book illustrator just beginning to take off. Marcus sat beside her, careful to leave space between them. "I need you to know something before you decide anything. That night wasn't just comfort for me, Eliza. It wasn't grief or loneliness or too much wine." She looked up at him, surprised. They'd never spoken about that night, the anniversary of his wife Caitlin's death. Sarah had been called into emergency surgery, and Eliza had volunteered to stay with Emma. After putting the little girl to bed, she'd found Marcus on the back porch, a half-empty bottle of whiskey beside him, tears streaming silently down his face. One conversation had led to another, comfort had turned to connection, and by morning, they'd crossed a line neither had ever imagined approaching. "It wasn't?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "I've been falling in love with you for over a year, Eliza. I just didn't know how to tell you. Didn't know if I had the right to love someone after Caitlin. Didn't know if you could ever see me as anything but Sarah's broken brother." The confession hung in the air between them, heavier than the news of her pregnancy. "I'm not broken," he added, a hint of defiance in his voice. "I never thought you were," she whispered. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of uncertainty. Eliza moved through her days in a fog, illustrating whimsical creatures for her latest book while her mind wandered to the very real life growing inside her. Marcus called daily, respecting her need for space but refusing to be shut out completely. Sarah oscillated between excitement about becoming an aunt and concern for both her brother and best friend. "You two are the most stubborn people I've ever met," she told Eliza over coffee one morning, careful to order decaf for her friend. "He loves you. You love him, don't deny it. I've seen how you look at him when you think no one's watching." "Why is this so complicated?" "Because it's not just about us," Eliza replied, stirring her coffee absently. "There's Emma to consider. And what if it doesn't work? I can't bear the thought of walking away from that little girl if Marcus and I don't make it." Sarah reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's how I know you're perfect for them. You're already thinking like a mother." The word mother sent a shiver through Eliza. Her own mother had done her best after Eliza's father left, working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. But the absence of her father had left a wound that never fully healed, a fear of abandonment that colored every relationship she'd ever had. "I'm scared, Sarah," she admitted. "What if I'm terrible at this?" "You won't be," Sarah said with the confidence of someone who had watched her friend with Emma for years. "But you don't have to figure it all out alone. That's what Marcus is trying to tell you." When Eliza finally agreed to come to dinner at Marcus's house, Emma nearly knocked her over with the force of her hug. "Aunt Liza. Dad said you've been sick, but you're better now, right? I made you a get-well card and Dad helped me make your favorite lasagna even though he burned the first batch and the smoke alarm went off and Mrs. Peterson next door came over with her fire extinguisher." Eliza laughed, lifting the little girl into a tight embrace. "I've missed you so much, sweet pea." Over Emma's shoulder, her eyes met Marcus's. He stood in the doorway to the kitchen, dish towel slung over his shoulder, a tentative smile on his face. Dinner was easier than Eliza had expected. Emma chattered about school and her soccer team, filling the silence that might otherwise have grown uncomfortable between the adults. When it was time for bed, she insisted Eliza read her story, a ritual they'd established long before everything changed. "Dad says we might be seeing a lot more of you again," Emma said as Eliza tucked the blanket around her. "Is that true?" Eliza's heart clenched. "Would you like that?" Emma nodded solemnly. "Dad smiles more when you're here. He was really sad when you stopped coming over. He tries to hide it, but I can tell." Out of the mouths of babes, Eliza thought. "I was sad too," she admitted. "I missed you both very much." "Then why did you stay away?" Emma asked with the direct simplicity only children can manage. Eliza considered how to answer. Sometimes grown-ups get confused about their feelings, and they need time to figure things out. "Are you still confused?" Eliza smiled. "Less than I was. Getting there." Emma seemed satisfied with this answer and snuggled deeper under her covers. "Good. Because Dad says you're family, and family sticks together even when things get hard." After Emma was asleep, Eliza found Marcus on the back porch, the same place where everything had changed 6 weeks earlier. He handed her a mug of herbal tea as she sat beside him on the porch swing. "Emma missed you," he said. "I missed her too." "And you," Eliza added, finding courage in the darkness. They sat in silence for a while, the gentle creaking of the swing the only sound besides the distant traffic and neighborhood dogs. "I've been thinking about what you said," Eliza finally spoke. "About that night not being just comfort." Marcus turned to look at her, his face half illuminated by the porch light. "And? It wasn't just comfort for me either," she admitted. "But that makes it more complicated, not less." "Why?" She took a deep breath. "Because I've spent my whole life afraid of ending up like my mother, loving someone who leaves when things get hard. And now there's a baby involved, and Emma, and so much more at stake than just my heart." Marcus set his mug down and took her free hand in both of his. "Eliza, look at me." She did, finding his eyes intense and certain in the dim light. "I'm not your father. I don't walk away when things get hard. If anything, I hold on tighter. Ask Sarah. Ask anyone who knew me after Caitlin died. I nearly drowned trying to keep everything together for Emma. That's different, Eliza protested. She was your wife. You loved her. Yes, I did, he agreed. And losing her nearly destroyed me. But it also taught me something important. Life is too short to waste time being afraid of what might happen. I lost Caitlin suddenly, without warning. There was no time to say all the things I wished I'd said more often. He squeezed her hand. I don't want to make that mistake with you. I love you, Eliza. I think I started falling for you the first time I saw you sitting at this kitchen table, helping Emma with her art project, glitter in your hair and patience in your voice when I would have lost my mind at the mess. Tears filled Eliza's eyes. I'm still scared. So am I, he admitted. Terrified, actually. But I'm more afraid of not trying than I am of trying and failing. He placed a gentle hand on her still flat stomach. This baby, whether we planned it or not, is a gift. A second chance for me, a new beginning for us, if you want it to be. Eliza covered his hand with hers. What about Emma? Marcus smiled. She asked me last week if you could be her new mom someday. I told her that was up to you, but that I thought you'd be an amazing mother. She did? Eliza whispered, tears now flowing freely. He nodded. She loves you, Eliza. Almost as much as I do. The first ultrasound was a revelation. Eliza lay on the examination table, Marcus's hand firmly in hers, as the technician moved the wand over her slightly rounded belly. There's your baby, the technician said, pointing to the screen. Strong heartbeat, measuring right on track for 12 weeks. Eliza couldn't speak, transfixed by the tiny fluttering heartbeat visible on the monitor. Beside her, Marcus made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. That's our baby, he whispered, squeezing her hand so tightly it almost hurt. Our baby. The words echoed in Eliza's mind as they left the clinic, a strip of ultrasound photos clutched in her hand like a treasure. I want to show Emma, she said as they drove home. They had decided to tell the little girl about the pregnancy after confirming everything was progressing normally. Marcus glanced at her, surprise evident on his face. Are you sure? We can wait if you want more time. Eliza shook her head. No more waiting. No more hiding. She deserves to know she's going to be a big sister. Emma's reaction was everything they could have hoped for and more. Her eyes widened as they explained that Eliza had a baby growing in her tummy, and that by Christmas, she would have a little brother or sister. Is that why you've been sleeping over so much? Emma asked Eliza with the innocence of a child who didn't fully understand the adult complexities at play. Marcus choked on his water while Eliza felt her cheeks flame. They had been careful to maintain separate bedrooms when Eliza stayed over, mindful of setting the right example for Emma despite the growing intimacy of their relationship. Partly, Eliza answered honestly. But mostly because I love spending time with you and your dad. Emma considered this, then asked the question they'd been preparing for, does this mean you're going to be my mom now? Eliza looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. I would like to be something like a mom to you, if that's okay, Eliza said carefully. I know I can never replace your real mom, and I would never try to. But I can promise to love you and take care of you, just like I'll love and take care of the baby. Emma launched herself into Eliza's arms. I think my real mom would be happy it's you, she said with the simple wisdom of a child. Dad says she sent you to us because she knew we needed someone to help us be happy again. Over Emma's head, Eliza's eyes met Marcus's, seeing in them all the love and hope she felt in her own heart. The pregnancy progressed with the usual challenges, morning sickness that lasted well into the afternoon, strange cravings that sent Marcus to 3 different stores at midnight, the gradual reshaping of Eliza's body as their child grew. Through it all, they navigated the evolution of their relationship. Eliza gradually moved most of her things into Marcus's house, converting the small bedroom next to Emma's into a studio where she could work on her illustrations. They decided to transform the guest room into a nursery, painting the walls a soft green that would work for any gender, as they'd chosen not to find out if they were having a boy or girl. "I want to be surprised," Eliza had said. "We've had enough surprises already, what's one more?" Not everything was smooth. They had their share of arguments, about parenting styles, about whether Eliza was doing too much, about Marcus's tendency to hover protectively. They disagreed about names, about whether to get a bigger car, about how to handle the holidays with their now intertwined families. But through each disagreement, they found their way back to each other, learning the art of compromise that would serve them well as parents. "You know what I realized?" Marcus said one night as they lay in bed, his hand resting on Eliza's now prominent belly. "We're doing everything backwards. Most people date, fall in love, get married, then have a baby." Eliza laughed. "When have either of us ever done anything the conventional way?" He propped himself up on one elbow, suddenly serious. "Would you want to, though? Do the conventional thing, I mean." "What are you asking, Marcus?" He reached into the drawer of his nightstand and pulled out a small velvet box. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment. But I'm starting to think there is no perfect moment, just perfect certainty." He opened the box to reveal a vintage ring with a modest diamond surrounded by sapphires. "It was my grandmother's. Sarah helped me have it resized for you." Eliza sat up, her heart racing. "Marcus. I'm not asking because of the baby," he said quickly. "I'm asking because I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore. Because Emma lights up when you walk into a room. Because I want to fall asleep beside you every night and wake up with you every morning for the rest of our lives." Tears filled Eliza's eyes as he continued. "Eliza Bennett, will you marry me? Not because you have to, but because you want to? Not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the right thing for us?" She took his face in her hands, seeing in it all the love and hope and future she'd been afraid to dream of. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." They married in a small ceremony in Marcus's backyard 2 months later, when Eliza was 7 months pregnant. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, proudly walking down the makeshift aisle in a dress that matched Eliza's simple maternity gown. Sarah stood as Eliza's maid of honor, beaming with satisfaction at having her best friend officially become her sister. "I knew it from the first time I saw you two in the same room," she whispered as she helped Eliza with her hair. "Some people just belong together, even if it takes them a while to figure it out." The reception was casual, just family and close friends gathered in the yard, eating catered food and dancing to a playlist Marcus and Emma had created together. As the evening wound down, Eliza found herself sitting on the porch swing, watching her new husband twirl his daughter around the dance floor they'd created on the patio. Sarah joined her, handing her a glass of sparkling cider. "Happy?" Eliza nodded, unable to find words adequate to express the fullness in her heart. "You know," Sarah said, "when I found that pregnancy test receipt." "You know," Sarah said with a smile, "when I found that pregnancy test receipt, I was scared for both of you. But now I see, it was the moment your real family began."